All right, Chris.
What's that?
Chris, where'd you grow up? Where are you from originally?
I'm originally from Baltimore, Maryland.
And tell me about your family growing up. You had both your parents?
Yeah, I had an interesting upbringing. I didn't have a bad childhood. It was, I guess you would say, it was confusing. My father divorced my mother and married the next door neighbor when I was about 5. Um, they still live next door to each other. It's literally been 39 years. They're directly next door to each other. My mother, back then she worked for. She actually worked for the FBI. She told me one time it was her job to print the 10 most wanted list. Back then there was no internet, so I guess it had to be mailed out. But my father was a totally opposite end of the spectrum. He was more criminal element, and I leaned more towards that side of things. He did and sold drugs, and I eventually started stealing drugs from him. And I guess you could say I met my first girlfriend, cocaine, when I was about 12 years old. And he found his coke in my wallet, and he never touched it again. But it was a little late for that. The seed was planted. Where I grew up, it was, I guess, you would say it's like 5-6 miles maybe from the city line. It appears to be a nice little rural, suburban kind of community, but like I said, it's right down the street. They're selling drugs on the corners, and it did take long for me to get mixed up with that kind of shit down there. As I started to get a little older, early teens maybe, the rave scene was starting to become popular, and I got mixed up in that pretty heavily. Sold a lot of drugs at those clubs to the point where I was making more money than my parents, so I dropped out of high school. I got introduced to a lot of, you hear about the street drugs like heroin, cocaine, that kind of thing, but I got introduced to a lot crazier shit getting involved with that. Just meth and PCP and ecstasy, ketamine, all that kind of stuff. And as a matter of fact, my motto was, if it ain't synthetic, it's fucking pathetic. It wasn't a day went by we didn't mix 9 different substances together and fucking just crazy off the wall shit. But at around 17 I got my first place of my own, and I realized at that age it's an excellent way to make money, or at the very least keep a drug habit going, is to have a house for all that crazy shit to go on. These days they call them trap houses, but this was 95. That term hadn't even come out yet. Yeah, man, I continued that same behavior up to the age of 40 when I came out here to get my shit together. But
How far did you go to school?
Huh?
How far did you go to school?
I dropped out halfway through the 12th grade. I ended up going back some sort of external diploma program type of thing, kind of put a smile on my mother's face, but I never used it for anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, me and school never got along. That was the place where you buy and sell drugs. You know what I mean? It had no other purpose. Getting involved with that rave scene really kicked addiction in the ass, man. Like it kicked it in strong. I ended up in prison for burglary. Before I went to prison, I went through a program called Teen Challenge. Mm-hmm. It's a Christian discipleship rehab. I did everything opposite of what I was supposed to. I robbed the fucking collection plate. Straight up. I actually met a girl at the church, and we conceived a daughter at the church. Her name is Tiffany. It means appearance or manifestation of God. We thought it made sense. She's 19 now. Let's see. Shit, man.
So Teen Challenge didn't work for you?
It wasn't challenging enough, I guess. No, I definitely You know, it planted a seed. As a result, I have a somewhat of a belief system. I can't say I lean in that direction, you know, but to this day, my nickname is Church, just because of my whole involvement with that thing. You know, I was helped out with the youth group a good bit, and I don't know, it definitely didn't work. You know, right back out to the same old behaviors, which, like I said, landed me in prison. When I got out, I've always been an artist. I've been drawing my entire life. You know, it was something that it's actually the only constant. You know, even if I were high, I would sit down and draw. You know, when I was in prison, everybody's tattooing, and I was always drawing, and they were trying to get me involved, and you know, I would like burn ink and that sort of thing. But I didn't actually tattoo in prison because I wanted to learn it properly rather. So when I got out, I sought out an apprenticeship. You know, it's a difficult industry to break into back then, but I managed to pull it off. You know, before I started tattooing, I was drawing portraits with a ballpoint pen. So I just had to find somebody, and I was impressed enough with what I was doing to kind of, you know, give me a start, give me a spot to start, whatever. It didn't take long. It blew up. Not to toot my own horn, but I'm pretty good at it. You know, doing tattoo conventions and just I reached this plateau where it wasn't enough. You know, that first 4 years of my career, I was clean, but only because I used tattooing as a drug, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Like, I wanted to learn as much as possible. I wanted to grow. I wanted to meet people. I wanted to become part of like that whole community. And like I said, it wasn't enough. I had a dentist give me Percocets for a root canal, and that took me on a 10-year run. That one prescription seemed to last a solid decade. When I fell off the wagon, I had, you know, a $250,000 home on a half acre, swimming pool, all the toys. I had a girl. We had 2 children. You know, we were living together. And I always say we replaced the Christmas tree with a stripper pole when she left, and just kept it moving. She left. She took the kids with her, and I got back on that whole trap house routine. And this house was crazy. At one point, we had to pull the carpet up because there was so much blood all over it. Fighting, shooting up, just anything you can do with a house to make money, I did. You know, guns, drugs, prostitution, even housed illegal immigrants at one point. They gave me like $1,600 a month to keep them in the attic.
This is where?
Baltimore.
Baltimore.
Yeah. As a result of my behavior in that specific house in that neighborhood, I get arrested 6 times in 5 months. 2 of those arrests were house raids at the same house. And wow. I had retained a pretty good lawyer. You know, he was actually a lawyer that used to play cards with my father when I was growing up, oddly enough. But he was able to, I don't know how they do it. I really don't. Send money to the right places, whatever. But I ended up on house arrest. Had the ankle monitor on. And I was looking at like 6 years if I violated. So me and my infinite wisdom, I cut it off. And I ran down to South Florida. You know, that old saying, wherever you go, you take you with you. You know, well, I took me with me. I was stealing cars down there. I was doing all kind of horrible shit.
Once you cut your ankle monitor off, you're on the run?
Yeah. I ran for, it was about 8 years.
Are they actively looking for you?
Oh, yeah. They were actually chasing me out the back door of tattoo shops, you know, in Florida. Like, they were diligently searching. Yeah, one of those stolen cars I hit a telephone pole with in Delray. A transformer exploded above my head and caught the neighborhood on fire. It was 7 city blocks went black. It was $13,000 damage to the city of Delray. They found me like 4 blocks away. I had run from the scene, you know. I woke up in a jail cell the next morning with a warrant for cutting the ankle monitor off, and somehow or another they released me. So how I tiptoed out of the jail, I knew they fucked up. But, you know, sticking with tradition, I ran again. This time I ran down to Key West. And that's, again, a whole nother world down there. You know, Duval Street is like a little mini Mardi Gras every night. You know, like you can literally panhandle $100 in 10 minutes. It's all tourists. And but it's extremely expensive to live down there, you know. But you can do what I did, and it's live on a sailboat in the mooring field. Yeah, it's definitely a dark time. You know, I went from this award-winning tattoo artist that, you know, was really making a name for himself. I was getting invites, you know, internationally, to the guy with 27 cents in his pocket, living on a sailboat in the Gulf of Mexico, you know, just fucking trying to get by, catching strawberry grouper for breakfast. But ultimately, everything ended up catching up to me. And believe it or not, even though I was looking at 6 years before I cut the ankle monitor off, I ended up doing a measly 6 months for all that shit. Yeah, that's the lawyer. He's an amazing person. You know, I got to the point where the whole trap house thing was easy to do. I had the last house I was at, I had it was paid for. I only had property taxes, gas and electric. And I got a disability check for schizoaffective disorder. They actually offered. I didn't even look into applying for the shit. That's how out of my fucking mind I was. The point is, the check covered all those expenses, the house itself. And we were tattooing out of it, the same old shit, the drugs, prostitutes, you know, guns, whatever, made money. And I reached the point where I had no fight left in me, you know. I was always pretty much of a fighter, good bit of violence in my past, and I lost every fight I got in towards the end there. I got a phone call from Michael Lynch. Michael Lynch was the original guy behind Felony Fights and Cage vs. Con. Instead of advocating violence these days, he actually helps knuckleheads like me get their shit together. And that phone call was, hey, if you want to come out to LA, possibly get a tattoo shop off the ground, you know, get your shit together, we'd love to have you. And that was all I needed to hear. I was done. I couldn't fucking take it anymore. I heard somebody say one time that desperation is a gift. I was definitely given that gift, because with no hesitation, I was on a plane in 3 days. I gave away the house and everything in it. I came out to LA with nothing. Didn't even bring my tattoo equipment because I didn't want the energy it held. I wanted to start over completely, and I did. I was actually, Michael owned a vape shop because vaping was really popular back then. This is 4 years ago. 4 years ago, Sunday, actually. Sunday the 30th, I had 4 years clean. I was tattooing out of the vape shop, you know. They had NA meetings out back. About 3 months in, I met my now wife. She came in, we did a little Friday the 13th special thing, you know, $13 for a tattoo on Friday the 13th. You know, it's just a little gimmick that it's going on in the industry for quite some time. I've never even done it before. I didn't want to, but I did it anyway, and I'm glad I did, because on Friday the 13th, April of 18, this girl comes into the shop, get a tattoo, and we were the same height, same eye color, same hair color. We are both named Chris, and we were both originally from Maryland. I stole her consent form to get her phone number. We're now married. It's amazing, you know, because along the lines of the whole recovery network and community and all, aside from those similarities, her and I are completely different people, you know. Like, she's also from Maryland, but she grew up about 45 minutes away from Baltimore. You know, cows and cornfields, and, you know, she was actually a homecoming queen where I was like the dropout degenerate. But we had one main thing in common that was really important, and that was that desire to just build a new life, a new healthy life, you know. And we stayed involved with the community, and the tattooing grew to the point where I'm at with it now. You know, I kind of wanted to get my career back on track and rebuild, and got to the point now where instead of the vape shop, we have another location. It's strictly tattooing. It's Interstate Ink instead of Interstate Vape. It's the name of the old place. Because my business partner is Michael Lynch, who owns all the treatment centers and all that good stuff. We have a program in place now where we can help other artists like myself with addiction issues get their lives and careers back on track. You know, like I said before, I burnt it to the ground, and I realized because tattooing is such an anything goes industry, you know, like tattooing will magnify whatever kind of person you are. It's bizarre. You know, when I was using, tattooing was my in on everything, you know, where in the past when I wanted to fucking get high, I had to scrounge $20. People would come over and just throw shit at me because it's the tattoo guy, you know. Like it was one incident where the guy actually came over with fucking kilos. Like, these are people who wouldn't give me the time of day before, but because of tattooing, they're all about it. I don't know what it is, but it's always had that stigma. This time around, we did the complete opposite. I have pushed recovery through tattooing to the point where I have 2 artists working for me that are both clean. One of them I pulled from Baltimore, where I was from, so he could get his shit together. It's been a wild ride, you know, it really has. And here I am, able to give back, which was something I never thought I'd even be interested in doing. You know, I was extremely selfish, self-centered, but now these days, you know, I sponsor guys in the 12-step program after going through the steps with a sponsor myself. You know, like I said, our shop, we don't even have many clientele that aren't in the program, you know, because Southern California, a lot of people don't even realize it, but it's like the hub for treatment centers. It's huge. And, you know, actually, with the shop, I'm able to, like I said, do the complete opposite of what I did before. And it's pretty fucking amazing. It's been a true blessing.
What were your drugs?
What were my drugs? Jesus. I've done drugs most people never even heard of, man. Literally fucking. You had, so on a daily basis, I would do heroin, cocaine, usually around a half a gallon of vodka. Pile benzos, and occasionally meth on top of that. But since I was tattooing, I had all walks of life coming through. The ravers would come over and they would bring a bunch of psychedelics and shit like that. And you know, bikers come through, they bring PCP. You know, I guess my point is, like, just massive amounts of anything every day. You know, that was my routine for about 10 years. But
what's the secret to getting clean? Because you're clean now.
Oh yeah.
How long have you been clean?
Like I said, it was January 30th, just this past Sunday, was 4 years.
What helped you do it?
What helped me?
What advice can you give?
You gotta want it. Plain and simple. Like I said early on, desperation was a gift. And I was desperate. I wanted nothing more than to change my life. I wanted to get back on track. Between that desire, first and foremost, and staying involved with, I realized at the ripe old age of 40, the importance of community. It's a huge part of it. It's just staying involved with a network of like-minded individuals who also want to stay together, to stay clean and keep their shit together. But, I think one of the things that probably one of the most important things is, I never thought I'd say this, but the 12 steps. They really help you take a look at yourself, your behaviors, past and present, and break down exactly why I'm running from whatever it is I'm running from to begin with. Does that make sense? Yeah, man. It definitely starts with that desire, and it has to be a desire to stay clean. It's almost as strong as the desire to get high. I say almost because drugs have a craving involved. Somebody like me would hold on to a resentment for a fucking lifetime. If I had issues with somebody 10 years ago, 20 years ago, I'm still holding on to that. You know what I mean? I got to come after you, and I had to be taught to let go of that stuff because it only fucking, like the person I'm upset with or upset about doesn't even know that I'm holding on to this shit. They don't give a fuck. Aside from that, man, like I said, I had enough.
Yeah.
That was the biggest thing, and as a result, I'm able to help others, reach a point where I'm at. Like, I started something similar to this, where I'm, tattooing at the shop. I keep hearing these stories because while I'm working, I got other people who we've got these crazy ass stories. They're clean now, and we start talking and we start bullshitting, and I started filming their stories like you're doing, the Broken Crayon show, because even broken crayons still color. I thought it was a cool. A friend of mine came up with the title, and I ran with it. It was a metaphor that worked, man. Because people like myself and so many others are straight up broken.
But what do you think the reason that drug addiction is such a common thing in our country is?
Oh, wow. That's, Christ, it's almost a loaded question,
Mm-hmm.
With the pharmaceutical companies. And,
yeah.
I had a friend of the family, like, my mother's friends and shit, who were, their kids were nothing like me. They grew up, valedictorian type, status, perfect GPA, all that good stuff. And as a result of like a sports injury, they're dead now because they got hooked on OxyContin or, it's absolutely insane, man. There's so many fucking contributing factors, I don't care which side of the game you're on, it's big money. I've always said no matter what the issue is with society, government, whatever, follow the money, and it's, people at the top of those situations, they don't give a shit who gets hurt, who dies, Like this fentanyl shit that's going on now. Before I came out here, the 8 months prior to coming to LA, like I said, that whole trap house situation, I saw more overdoses in that 8 months when fentanyl was starting to take hold than I saw the entire 25 years total combined prior. That's fucking disturbing. To me, it would be bad for business. You know what I mean? Like,
you're losing all your
kill
customers.
your fucking clientele, but I don't know. Something about it. But yeah, there's so many reasons, For somebody like me, I started using when I was so young that You know, I was still that scared little boy whose father left, all the way up to the age of 40, if that makes sense. You know, because whatever I was running from originally was compounded by the next bullshit that I brought on myself, year after year after year, creating more problems on top of the problems I was running from. You know, and it's crazy because once I finally got clean and I came to that realization, I thought, wow, what a pussy. You know what I mean? Like, I'm running from something, you know, at the age of 40 that took place when I was 5. It sounds pathetic to me now that I'm on the other side of it. And I don't know, it's a hard realization for people to come to. It really is. I know, because I talk to some of these younger cats, man, and I'm like, dude, you know, this shit is gonna kill you. It's not a matter of if, but a matter of when. You know, if you do fentanyl, you will die. It's, you know, it's not like shit was back in the day. You know, when somebody got high and fell on the floor back in the day, we would laugh because we knew they'd get back up. It seldomly didn't rise to their feet. But now, it's all she wrote. You know? It's, the thing is, I could tell these kids that are blue in the face, this shit's gonna kill you. I don't give a fuck. They don't even seem to, it doesn't faze them. It's bizarre. But I've been there, so I understand it. I don't know. It's a confusing situation, man. It really is. But I know of 9 people that I was close to that have passed away in like the past 3-4 weeks. 9. And you know, that's, you know, I had my shop, I kind of teamed up with another addict who was making watches. And I had him do some custom watches for me with my logo on the face. Found out, you know, by opening Facebook that he was gone. Just so many people you end up getting close to, and like that, they're gone. Gotta cut my hair, gone. Fucking, you know, the list just, it goes on and on and on. It's really just, it's got its fucking claws in everybody. You know, and they're putting it in everything, which doesn't make any sense to me. You know, fentanyl's a downer. Why would you put it in cocaine? You know, who am I? Obviously, not that kind of business, man, because I don't get it.
Tell me about tattooing. Why is tattooing so popular now?
Well, when I got into it, it wasn't as mainstream as it is today. Got into it about 19 years ago. But then the TV shows. There's definitely different ways to look at that. You know, for guys like us, you know, at first we were like, this is fucked. You know what I mean? Like, don't drag this many people into this. You know, it's almost like an elite few that were capable. And
now it's so popular that it's almost...
Well, that was the other thing. That was the other side of it. Like, we noticed that people who would never get tattooed before were watching shows like Miami Ink back then, and they were coming in and getting heavily tattooed. So, you know, it had its pros and cons. But I tattooed a Greek Orthodox priest. Like, this shit is for everybody now. I think, you know, self-expression, you know, a lot of memorial type tattoos. There's so many different situations where people get tattooed. I'm not really sure why, but I'm glad it is because it pays my bills.
What's the craziest tattoo you've done?
Yeah, I get that question a lot, and well, I got a fun one for you. My wife, as I said earlier, my nickname is Church. My wife has church parking only right here. I had this one dude years ago. I did a pussy on his ribs, so that the armpit hair is pubes. Just, you know what I mean? Just off the wall shit, you know. Some of the stuff people ask for is just downright crazy. Some of the names, they just want to get like their kid's name. The one lady, she wrote it down. Nosmo King was the name. And if you write it down and read it, it says no smoking. I'm like, what the hell is this? She said, I saw it on the way into the delivery room. All right.
I interviewed a guy a couple years ago, Mexican guy who was probably in prison, probably a prison tattoo, pussy eater across his upper lip.
There you go. Then you know.
Like, is that, I'm not sure what that's going to lead to. But.
Run it. You know, I had one guy who was so distraught, man, like, because his nephew died and he wanted to get something for his nephew, but he wanted his nephew's name across his forehead. It's like, dude, like, I understand you're grieving. I get that you're hurting, but really? Like, you can put it on your arm or something, man? I don't know. It's crazy. I can't think of more off the top of my head, but I know this is fucking crazy shit. I did a shocker recently. You know, these two fingers are covered in cum. This one's covered in shit. Like, you know, fuck. Yeah.
What would you say is the most important thing you've learned in your crazy life?
That's simple, man. Ride the wave. Stop getting in my own fucking way and just watch it unfold, you know? To the point where I'm literally able to take a step back and just process things and let things happen, if that makes sense, you know? We're always so eager to do and say and fucking get in our own way. And for me, especially, very impulsive, you know? Just being patient and like I said, ride the wave, watch it unfold.
Beautiful. All right, Chris, thank you so much for sharing your story.
How'd that do?
You did great. I find relationships fascinating.
They are fascinating.
They're just, I think everyone finds them fascinating.
Yeah, they're hard and fascinating, and yeah.
Man, are they hard.
Yes.
They are hard.
They are hard, but they shouldn't be that hard.
No, they shouldn't be. They could be very easy, right?
I don't think it's ever really easy. I think it's always going to be a challenge, but I don't think that it should be so hard that, I mean, you should have more pleasure from them than not.
Mm-hmm. What is this? If there's one secret, what would be the secret?
Oh man,
to oversimplify.
You know, I think the subject of my book, it begins with you. It's not, you know, you have to always maintain your relationship with yourself and learn the skills and not look to a relationship to save you.
Sure.
But to see what you can actually bring to the relationship. A lot of people think that they go to a relationship to get happy instead of how can I bring happiness to the relationship?
Yeah, I see so many like relationship help. I guess they mean well, but there's so many dark
things out there right now. How to get how to manipulate this person.
Yeah,
to
exactly.
Get
really dark games that people are playing. It's like
it's awful.
I just go into relationships like I'm just going to be really nice to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you enjoy that, then we might be a good match. And that's it.
Yeah, that's
it. It isn't like I'm trying to make sure that I'm not the one that likes the other one less so that I'm in control. And it's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, no, it's so, well, it's really crazy.
Because, I mean, honestly, I think, is it better to love or be loved? And I think it's better to love.
I think you get more out of loving than to be loved.
Yeah,
actually.
I mean, I've been loved before, and it's like that kind of doesn't do it for me as much as. I mean, if you can find, I've said this many times that you want a healthy relationship is where both partners feel like they're getting the better end of the deal.
Yes, definitely. I think that's really well said. I mean, also a lot of people don't choose partners well. They
Amen.
don't. You know. I always say there's only two things you need to know about relationships or before you pursue a relationship with someone. The health or the quality of a relationship is dependent on two things. Number one, who you choose to partner with. And then number two, who you decide you're going to be in that relationship. How you decide, who you decide to be and how you decide to show up. Those two things. That's the secret. But most people don't choose the right partner for them because they don't understand the gravity of that choice. And they think, if I'm attracted to you, well, that's enough. But to make a relationship work long term, there has to be more than love. There has to be more than attraction.
Are you ideally looking for someone who is like you have a lot of things in common with, or are you looking for somebody who's going to force you to grow?
It's a combination of things. A lot of things in common, not so important. What's important is that you have core values that are similar. That you have core values. The rest, not so important. And then forced to grow, I think forced to grow, and also someone who you can grow with instead of grow apart.
It becomes complex very quickly.
Well, I think, if you were to think about hiring a business partner, what steps would you take before deciding who you would hire to be your business partner? You would want to know about this person's character. You would want to know about some of their habits. You would want to know what their values are, what their vision is for the company, for the business that you're building together. And you would want to know that you two are a good fit. Not the same, but a fit. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing with a life partner.
And sometimes complementing each other, like having
absolutely
strengths that are not your strengths.
Absolutely. That's very important. Yeah. Super important. And people don't think about that. I mean, I know I never did before doing this work. It was more just like, we have a connection, and that's important. Or we have intense chemistry. All of that is important, but that's not enough to sustain a relationship over the long term. You have to be like partners in crime, in a way.
And childhood plays a huge part in all of this, right?
Childhood plays a role. Our past experiences play a role. And then, our beliefs play a role, and our values play a role. Lots of things play a role. So it's about choosing well. And I think that probably the most important decision a person will ever make is who they decide to spend their lives with.
It seems a lot of people will choose love before they've done the work on themselves. Today's video is sponsored by BetterHelp. After my recent loss, I was completely thrown off. I couldn't sleep, my mind was scattered, had a hard time working and focusing, so I started seeing a therapist. And just having a space to talk with someone who helps you see things from a different perspective helps you to feel grounded again. And slowly, I started coming back to myself. And that's what therapy gives you, the ability to meet yourself with patience and compassion, especially when things don't go the way you expected. I think therapy is one of the best investments a person can make in themselves. BetterHelp makes starting therapy easier. You just fill out a short questionnaire and get matched with a therapist in as little as a couple of days. And if it's not the right fit, you can switch anytime at no extra cost. With over 7,000 reviews and a 4.3 rating on Trustpilot, it's a platform you can trust. Click on the link in the description or go to betterhelp.com/soft white underbelly to get 10% off your first month of therapy. Thank you for watching. It seems a lot of people will choose love before they've done the work on themselves.
Yeah, and look, there isn't, let me go work on myself and then I can be in a relationship. Every circumstance is different. Like, let's say you go through a difficult breakup or a divorce. Ideally, what one does is take some time to self-reflect. What was my role in this? What worked? What didn't work? What did I learn about myself? What it is that I need and what it is that I want? What do I need to work on? And for some people, they do need to do some more rigorous work on themselves. But most of the time, it's self-reflection. It's maybe taking some time. But you could do so much work on yourself but you're never going to be 100% prepared, because it's when you're in the relationship and relating to another sovereign person, that's where the real work is. So when we say, well, no one has done any work on themselves, it's like no one's done any, like, hey, what's my contribution to, the shit that I've been a part of? That's really the work on oneself. Or what are some of the things that are getting in the way of me having the relationship that I want? Do I love men but also hate them? Do I love women but also hate them? Did I see my parents argue in a particular way and I've inherited that style of arguing or that style of conflict, and it's not helping me, so I have to go in a different direction? There are lots of people out there who are walking around having never asked themselves these questions, having never taken the time to reflect on themselves and their contribution. And those are the people you want to stay very far away from when it comes to a relationship.
Fear shapes so much of our behavior in these kind of relationships. Fear of getting rejected, fear of getting hurt, fear of everything.
Yes.
And it cripples some people, it seems. What are the most common mistakes you see people making in romantic relationships? Well,
the fear of not being good enough, which then leads to this sort of pathological fear in some people that they are going to be deprived of love. They're going to be abandoned or whatever it is. Some people are afraid being consumed by the relationship. But that's also, a lot of people, they either fear losing themselves or they fear losing the other person, right? But mostly what people are afraid of is not being good enough. Some of the biggest mistakes. Selfishness. And that's, it's an interesting thing because you can actually be a very generous, selfless person and be known for that and be a wonderful friend. But what happens when you're in a romantic relationship? If we're insecure, if we are having a hard time, we tend to only focus on what we're not getting, and we don't focus on what we're not giving. Some people, they are a really common thing, and people do this to protect themselves. They will hyper-focus on everything that's wrong about their partner and not see what's right. There's so many different patterns. A lot of people have the pattern, both men and women, of wanting to rescue someone. They think, I can change this person, or my love can transform them, or, I can fix them. That's really, really common. And I see that in both men and women.
I heard something recently on social media where someone said something about when you see potential in someone, what you're actually seeing is what you would do if you were in their shoes.
Interesting.
And it doesn't mean that the person you're seeing these possibilities in doesn't mean that person has any of the ability or the inclination to do these things.
That's an insightful comment. No, it's very true because we're projecting all the time.
You're projecting what you would do in their shoes.
Yes. And you are imagining who they could be instead of loving who they are right now. Mm-hmm. A lot of people do that. This is very common. They don't see the person who's right in front of their face. They see who they could be based on these projections.
Yeah.
That's a very dangerous thing because what happens then is then you get into a relationship and the other person starts to resent you because we can feel when someone's trying to change us. And then we start to resent them because they never actually become who we want them to be. So you really have to love the person as they are. You can see their potential, but you have to be okay with who they are today. And if you're not, they are not a project. But a lot of people get into relationships unconsciously turning their partner into a project.
You think more women do that or men do that to their partners?
I think, I used to think it was more women who do that, but I'm not quite sure because, but it looks different. The conquest for a man who dates women would be, let me find the woman who's just like a broken bird or messed up, and I will be her protector and fix her and I'll save her. Yeah. Women who date men in particular, they're not really looking to protect. They're looking to transform darkness into light. They're looking to transform the person into the protector. And they think unconsciously, I will be the inspiration for this person's change. And if I'm the inspiration for their change, I am worthy. Same thing with a guy who wants to rescue the broken bird. He gets his significance from being able to do that. So that's where he sees his worth because, sometimes we can't even imagine being loved for who we are, so we figure out a way how to be needed.
Does that ever work out? Where somebody's going to gain their self-worth from saving somebody?
No, it never works out. The relationship might last, but it's not going to be a thriving relationship.
You're just propping the person up.
Well, there's just a lot of stress that comes with that relationship because you can't really save anyone. People have to save themselves. And you can support someone in their pursuit of making themselves better, but you can't save someone. And then you never feel satisfied. You never feel fully satisfied, or you're stressed out, or the person is always, it creates a sort of codependency is what it does, which is very similar when you have an addict and a non-addict in a relationship. It takes on a very similar form, which is, you want the addict to change. Your whole life becomes about changing this person. Your whole life becomes about this person. So your whole focus is on them. And then they're not changing, so you start to lose your sense of self and meaning inside the relationship. So can it work? Well, it depends your definition of working. It could last a long time, but no one's really happy in it. It's a dynamic, and it's not a good one.
And now with technology and all the things that have changed in our world, it's like relationships look very different than they did 10, 20 years ago.
Yes.
Is that making it harder or easier?
What makes relationships harder if we're talking about technology is, people can be on social media and interact with strangers in a way that we've never done before. There's temptation there, and that wasn't there before. People are distracted. They're just way more distracted. And so they're not connecting. And so I think that's the biggest role that technology has played in modern relationships.
It also appears that love is more transactional than ever before. Is that my imagination?
Yeah, I have to think about that. It depends how you look at it. Relationships, today people are looking for a soulmate. Back in the day, people were just looking for their like someone who they can build a family with. And I wouldn't say that that's transactional, but there's almost this unspoken agreement. We're getting together because we're building a family. Today, it's like, are you going to complete me? Are you my soulmate? Are we going to go conquer worlds together? And so that is that is how I see it. I think the transactional part that maybe you're seeing, and I'd be curious to know, is, hey, I'm going to bring all this to the table. What are you bringing to the table? That kind of thing. Like, how much value you're going to add to my life, and I need to see how much value you're going to add to my life, and then I can decide, if you're right for me. So that feels rather transactional. Yeah,
but for me personally, I see it as relationships have always been transactional, whether you're bringing home some meat to feed the family or she's doing, so there's always some give and take, but that doesn't mean blocks out love and.
Right, but if it becomes too transactional, there's no passion.
There are
there's
certainly
no
those kind of relationships
yeah,
too.
because
But
people are
I just
keeping
think
score.
transaction is such a a terrible term.
I know, but yeah, there is an understanding. It's a partnership. It's like building a business. It really truly is.
Yeah.
And you have to understand which each other's roles are. Like who's going to pay the bills, who's going to do that, who's going to be the person who looks out for the family, who protects the family, in what way. Yeah. These are the conversations that people don't have.
So it seems like there's a lot of conversations that aren't had in romantic relationships.
Too many. It's like, you're hot, I'm hot, we're attracted to each other, we've got this great connection, we laugh together, let's get married.
So many unspoken things.
Yeah, it's insane.
We don't talk about that, whereas that's probably the most important thing to talk about.
It is the most important thing to talk about.
What were the struggles in your life that led you into this work?
Yeah, well, I taught yoga for many, many years, born and raised in Manhattan, New York City. And I always had this internal struggle where I always felt like I was meant for something bigger than just being someone's wife. But yet, call it conditioning or just whatever, I also really wanted to get married. Like that was important to me. Get married, have kids, and go that route. And I wasn't raised with this. I wasn't raised with this idea of like, Jillian, you can do anything you want and like just like reach for the stars kind of thing. So I taught yoga, loved it in the beginning, then felt very dissatisfied with it. It wasn't enough for me, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. And then I wanted to get married, so I met the man who would become my husband and then my ex-husband. And it was very difficult. It was the relationship that really revealed all the problems that I had always had with my father. That was the relationship that just like mirrored my childhood relationship with my father and my teenage relationship with my father.
Is that what we do in relationships, is try to recreate?
Sometimes, not always.
Not always?
Psychologists and psychiatrists love to say that every single relationship is a recreation from childhood. I don't believe that. I mean, I have friends and family who are in relationships with people and they're not recreating any drama from childhood. I've had relationships where I wasn't recreating any drama from childhood. But if you're really struggling in your relationship, then chances are your childhood, there's something in your childhood that's coming up for sure. So relationship with your mom, relationship with dad, 100%. And that was a really tough relationship. I thought I was so mature getting into it and that everything was going to be great. And it was like the same thing. If he was upset, he wouldn't tell me, he would pull away. And I thought I was the problem, or that like I wasn't worthy. So I didn't speak up. And it's very important for women to speak up in their relationships because we're taught not to. And he decided, one morning I woke up to a miscarriage, and he decided to break up with me over text that afternoon. He wasn't coming home.
Same day?
Same day, that afternoon.
That's sweet.
It was fun. And I had also just discovered that my mom only had a couple months left to live. She had terminal cancer. So that day, June 2nd, 2014, the day before what would have been our 2-year wedding anniversary, everything fell apart. And I became obsessed with figuring out what makes a relationship work, because I was devastated. I was scared. I thought, this person wasted my time, all these stories in my head, and I didn't know what I was going to do. And I decided I was going to figure out what makes a relationship work. And I've been obsessed with it ever since.
It's amazing how pain, extreme pain, the pain of heartbreak is high octane fuel to channel into hopefully something productive in your career, in your life, in your development.
Depending on who you are, it has the potential to be the high octane fuel.
It could also,
or you can let it destroy you.
Lead you to drink or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been able to channel that into this project and other things before it that all came from that kind of heartbreak.
Yeah.
And it's been the best thing ever. You almost want to get your heart broken again just to
I know, just to get motivated again.
Just to get motivated because it's the best motivation on earth.
Yeah, it truly is. Yeah. You have to flip the script. You have to find meaning in the pain. And I found that helping others was the path to truly healing for me. So I'm a teacher. That's who I am. And so I thought, as soon as I started to learn more about it, I was like, this is what I have to do. I have to coach, I have to teach, I have to educate people on this. And I transitioned out of teaching yoga and doing this full time. People don't really understand that about pain. When we're in pain, and look, there's some things that happen in life, as I'm sure you know, that are very legitimately horrible. But we get so in our heads, it's like we can't escape ourselves, we can't escape our thoughts. And the best way to heal is to help others who are in more pain.
Yeah, there's wisdom there, because I think we look so often like we're trying to find out what's going to make us feel better. What's going to make us feel better? When will I heal from this? And by helping others, that is the key.
It is the key, because it gets you out of your head so fast. Because it's such a reprieve. It's like, oh, I don't have to think about my problems right now. So let me help this other person with their problems. Mm. And then I think that's where meaning and fulfillment comes, where you feel like you are, in your own way, contributing to something outside of yourself.
Which also makes you a much more attractive partner.
I think so, yeah. I think that no one wants to be in a relationship with someone who's got nothing going on. And look, someone might be, their meaning is in being a parent, whatever it is. It doesn't matter what it doesn't have to be a career. But everyone, people think that the path to fulfillment is a relationship. And a relationship should add to your life significantly. Otherwise, way too labor intensive to waste your time. But fulfillment is an inside job, and your partner is not responsible for fulfilling you. And I think what happens is that when we meet someone, we're excited about them, and it's the very beginning, that lust that transitions into falling in love is intoxicating. And it's highly emotional, and it's incredibly irrational. And we think unconsciously that this relationship, this person, is actually rescuing us from all the uncertainty and pain of our life. And we think they're amazing. Immaturity is, let me project my entire fantasy, like dream person, dream guy, dream girl onto this person. And then as soon as I find out that you're actually a human being with flaws and, your level of consciousness is very similar to mine, you're not this highly evolved, because people want to find this highly evolved, angelic person who's going to come into their life and make everything okay for them. People know that's not true when they intellectualize it, but we have this sort of hunger for that. And we have to mature our understanding of love and not project fantasies onto these people, because that transition from the falling in love stage to the more committed stage, regular stage of the relationship is very hard for people, because they think, oh, you're just a human being like me. And then they get crushed with these, by the weight of their failed expectations. And so no one's perfect. Figure out 3 to 5 things that are absolutely non-negotiable for you, and be open-minded and 100% flexible on the rest. And then you might get into a relationship and discover like this isn't working, and that's part of life. But no one can make you fulfilled. Falling in love is temporary. Then you enter a different stage of love. But that high, intoxicating feeling doesn't last. And a lot of people can't handle that. I prefer that it doesn't last because it also is very distracting and ungrounding and almost manic. I prefer to be grounded. And I think that that's what people really need to see and to experience, is that grounded feeling in a relationship.
Has there been a time in history where for a woman, the idea or the pressure to marry and have children has been less than it is right now?
I think there's less pressure to marry and have children now than
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So there are still far more women who feel pressured, who want to have a family and feel the biological clock than not. Even though there's women who are entrepreneurs now, and it's very, very different. But there's still that pressure. I think that women face a different challenge, which is, how do I develop myself? And I want to pursue these dreams, and I want to pursue this work, and I want to pursue this career. And holy shit, I'm 39. And I don't have a partner, and I want a child. And I think that's happening a lot.
Women have done an excellent job of thriving in a man's world.
Yes.
But the price they pay for that is, it's 39 years old.
Yeah, I'm 39 or 40, and I don't have a child. And it's very challenging for women. I think that women are in a very particular fork in the road, so to speak, of, where do I go? Do I pursue this, or do I pursue being a mom? And, some people figure out how to do both, but it's quite challenging for the modern woman.
And having a child in your early 20s really slows down your...
Oh, yeah. And who has kids in their early 20s anymore? I mean, I guess some, but that's not that common.
No.
I mean, I know people having babies in their 40s.
That seems like it's more common than in the 20s.
Yeah. I mean, at least in the bigger cities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Men seem to be almost like needier in the relationships than women nowadays. Do you see that?
Yeah, I think...
Maybe they've always been that way, but...
No, I think men need to feel like they are needed. And the more independent women become, and not needing a man to support them, I think a lot of men are confused. Well, then what is my role then in this relationship? But what they need to understand is your role is to be a protector. Your role is to be emotional support. Your role is to be a friend. And it may be that your role is not to be the provider, but providership can go well beyond money. But I think there is some confusing. And then there's confusing messages, and also there's the messages of, women being like, well, I don't need a man. And it's funny because if you are a woman who's always been taught by your family and by society that you can't survive without a man, and your whole life, or maybe your whole teenage life or young adult life, you were always like searching for the man and searching for the high value man that's going to take care of you. And then one day you wake up, I mean, it's not literally one day, but metaphorically speaking, one day you wake up and you're like, wow, I actually have dreams of my own. Wow, I can make my own money. Wow, I can stand on my own 2 feet. Wow, I've got great friends. You have to understand from that perspective, it's incredible. It's very empowering. A woman can get drunk on that kind of empowerment. It feels really good because it doesn't feel great to feel like you can't have a life unless you have a man in it. and we're speaking very heteronormatively here, but I think there's gay women too who would think this too, like the relationship, the love. But if we continue on with this, well, I don't need a man, well then how is the men listening to those messages, how are they going to feel relevant? How are they going to feel important? It's like, okay, well, maybe you don't need a man for your, like maybe you can be happy without the relationship. And that's great, because I'm always trying to help people to be happy without the relationship. But if you can't see how having a relationship with a man or a woman, that can't give you things that you wouldn't be able to find on your own, then that's a problem. Then your partner's never going to feel important to you. So the neediness, I think that's the confusion of men being like, how can I be significant to you in your life? What do you think?
It's complicated. You know, I am a single man, and it's like it's a little different situation now, because I have this. You become like almost like a little celebrity on social media. So now my life is very different than it was 20 years ago.
Right.
But I guess the dynamics are still in place. I like all the options I have now. Mm-hmm. I'll say that.
Yeah.
Dating has never been easier. Mm-hmm. It's like, it's just, you know, so that's
fun.
That's fun, right? It's much easier. But then there's still the work of finding somebody who's a good match and all of that. And it's hard. It's hard. You know,
it's never been easy.
No, you know, it's interesting. I find myself, what we talked about earlier, where you're recreating your relationships with your parents. And my relationship with my mom was so beautiful that you would think that that's what I'm recreating with some of the women that I get involved with. And that's been the case in some of them. But then also my relationship with my dad, which was much more headbutting. Yeah. And much more challenging. I've also had relationships with women that are recreating that dynamic.
Yes, yes.
And it's like, so it's never just one or the, it's like, it's a mix.
It's a mix, and context matters. Like,
I find them both interesting.
Yeah, they are very interesting. Who did you have to be in order to get your father's love or attention?
Well, see, like I never felt like I really got my dad's love.
So what did you think you had to do in order to get it?
Be perfect, be a great provider, be incredibly handsome, be a perfect everything.
Good at sports too? Good at school?
Good at everything.
Good at everything.
Good at everything.
And then you would be rewarded.
Yeah, and it was never enough.
Yes.
But you get on that train, that treadmill where you're like trying to win, trying to get his approval.
Yes.
And you end up in a relationship where
you're doing the exact same thing.
You're doing the exact same thing, and I recognize that. And it's intoxicating.
Yeah.
It's intoxicating.
What's intoxicating about it?
It's like you're recreating what you were doing when you were 7, 8, 9, 10 years old.
Yeah, it's familiar.
It's familiar. So, it's familiar, but it feels like that's my drug. Mm-hmm. That's something you're supposed to be doing. And I recognized that it was unhealthy, but God damn it, it felt right.
Did it though?
In a toxic, neurotic, unhealthy way.
Did it though? Or was there a lot of suffering too?
A lot of suffering. A lot of growing.
A lot of growing.
I grew more in that relationship than any relationship I've ever been in. Yeah. And it was one of my favorite relationships because of it. Like when you're really challenged in a relationship, it's seared into your psyche.
You like a challenge.
I love a challenge.
Yes.
Yeah, I've always appreciated a female that can be a real challenge.
But you like a challenge just in general in life.
In life. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, with my work, with my relationships, with my everything.
Right. And that's, so then you think if I'm not being challenged, then something must be wrong.
I get bored.
Yeah, you get bored.
There's nothing wrong. There's probably a lot of things right, but I'm just bored.
Yes. So you date a lot of women. You date women with a lot of problems?
I've done that, yeah, for sure. Yeah. It would be refreshing to date a woman who has a lot of things going on in her life, like I do.
Yeah.
So then that becomes a different set of challenges.
Yeah.
That would be refreshing.
Yeah.
Rather than the broken birds that you talked about earlier.
Yeah.
Because those are easy for me to find. I'm interviewing them every day.
Yes.
You know.
Are you usually attracted to the broken bird?
No, I recognize the problems that are there, but you know, I've done 10,000 interviews and there's been one that slipped through. So not like I'm picking from a hole.
Yeah. Right.
You know, but there was one who just passed away recently,
Oh, I'm sorry.
and it was a great relationship. But now that the kind of the truth of the relationship comes out after somebody passes away, all their secrets come out.
So you were in a relationship with someone who just died?